Today we're looking at a parable that has an immediate and concrete application for its hearers. It's the parable of the two sons. It's found in Matthew chapter 21, verses 28 through 32. Each of the 5 verses is significant, but we're going to look at portions from 4 of the 5 to dig out some great Greek stuff, and let us dive in with verse 28. What do you think? A man had 2 sons, and he went to the first and said, "Son, go and work in the vineyard today." So that's verse 28 from the ESV. All of our English readings today will be from the ESV. Let's take a look at the first part of that. What do you think? Tide humin doke. So I have to geek out a little bit here. What makes this language so spectacular? It's the specificity that we're given through the grammatical structure. So look at our verb, doke. Doke is present, active, indicative, third person, singular. He, she, or it seems. So then look immediately before doke, humin, the plural, second person plural, personal pronoun in the dative case, to you. It seems to you. Tide. How does it seem to you? Why does this matter? Because in the ESV's translation, what do you think? You, plural, are the subject of the verb think. But the way Matthew wrote down Jesus' words, you, plural, are not the subject. You, plural, are the indirect object. The subject is it. The subject is the parable that Jesus is about to speak. How does it, subject, seem, verb, to you, indirect object, you mean? Right? So why does this matter? Because it's critically important for us to understand that the subject of the verb, the thing that matters here, is the parable, and they are being challenged to evaluate the thing that he's getting ready to tell them. He's going to tell them this thing, this parable, this it. And he says to them, how does it, this parable, this forthcoming thing, seem to you guys? I'm going to tell you something, I'm going to lay something out, and I want you to evaluate it. And what does he tell them? A man has 2 sons. He goes to the first and says, go work in the vineyard. That brings us to verse 29. And he answered, I will not. But afterward, he changed his mind and he went. There's a lot of great stuff here in his response. Outhelo, husteron, de metamelethes apelthen. So outhelo, let's start there and let's stick there for a moment. Thelo is a volitional verb. I want, I wish, I desire, I will. Not in the sense of I'm going to do something, but the will in the volitional sense of wanting and desiring to do something. It is my will to do this, right? So what does he say? He says, Outhelo, I do not wish this. I do not want this. I don't want to. He was told, go work in the vineyard. I don't want to. That's important, right? So we know his posture toward the request. I don't want to work in the vineyard. Then we get husteron de metamelethes apelthen. But later, husteron is later, but later, then we get this aorist participle. After changing heart, metamelethes, after changing heart, apelthen, he went. So this is really important. Metamelethes can be easily confused with metanoein. We get metanoia, repentance, metanoein, being after-minded. This is not being after-minded. This is having a change in your middle. This is having a change of heart. This is guilt or remorse. So it's not saying, wow, when I said I didn't want to go, that was really wrong of me, and I don't want to be that way anymore. In fact, I'm going to change my entire orientation toward working in the vineyard and toward the desires of my Father. That's not what he's saying. He's saying, I really don't want to do this, but because I know I should, because my dad came and told me to do this, and it's the family vineyard, as much as I don't want to, I'm going to drag myself there and do it anyway. So this is feeling remorse and then going, not being after-minded. This is not a repentant, changed person. This is someone who said, I really don't want to do this, but it's my dad and it's the family business, and okay, I'm going to go do it. All right, that's important. That's significant. He went, but not as a changed person. Now we get to verse 30. And he went to the other son and said the same. And he answered, I go, sir, but did not go. So we're going to break this verse into two parts. There's a lot here. Let's start with the beginning. Proselthon de to hetero epen hosautos. So proselthon is an aorist participle, and after going to him, to heteron, to the other one. So in the previous verse, we were told the dad went to the first one, protos. Now we're told he goes to the second one. After going to the second one, apen, he said, hosautos, likewise, or similarly. He said the same thing to the second son that he said to the first son. That's important. Why is it important? Because the two sons, who have two very different reactions or outcomes, have the same input. When the dad goes to each son, he says the same thing to them. Go work in the vineyard. Okay? So the way they react is not reacting to a different dad or to a different posture or to a different command. The imperative is the same. The two imperatives are the same. Go work in the vineyard. Okay? They're both given the same input. Now let's look at what the younger son or the second son says to the dad. Ego kuriae kai uk epelthen. Ego kuriae. And this is an absolute, this ego. It's shortened. It doesn't give us the whole thing. But he says, essentially, yes, sir, here I am. I'm your man. Send me. I'll go do it. It's a big, powerful yes with this vocative kuriae. Lord, sir. He doesn't say father. He doesn't say dad. He gives this term of respect and this absolute ego. I will go, sir. I will do it. And then we get the follow-up, kai ukapelthen, and he didn't go, right? I love the sort of subtle, downplayed, subdued, and he didn't go. He made the big show of his yes. I shall go. I am your man. I am on the job. But then very subtly, and he didn't go. So look at the difference in the dynamic in that. I just love how he just lays that out there, leaves it just factually out there, and he didn't go. Let's move on to 31 and 32. Which of the two, so we're done with the parable, now Jesus is speaking directly to the crowd. Which of the two did the will of his Father? They said, the first. Jesus said to them, truly I say to you, the tax collectors and the prostitutes go into the kingdom of God before you. For John the Baptist, came to you in the way of righteousness, and you did not believe him. But the tax collectors and the prostitutes believed him. And even when you saw it, you did not afterward change your minds and believe him. Even when you saw it, you did not afterward change your minds and believe him. So Jesus says to them, you acknowledge that it's more in line with the will of the Father to say I don't want to, but then to feel some guilt and go ahead and do it anyway, than it is to say I'm going to do it, but then don't do it, right? So making a show of respect and obedience, but not acting on it, is not doing the will of the Father. It's better for you to be honest and say, I don't want this, I don't want to do it, but then actually say, yeah, but the right thing to do, looking at the situation and recognizing this is my Father and this is his vineyard, the right thing for me to do is to do it. They get that. They understand that. But look at what he says in the last sentence of the 2 verses. De idontes ude metamelethete husteron to pistiusai auto. So, de idontes. But after seeing, so idontes is an aorist participle, but after seeing, ude melamethete husteron, you neither had remorse, you neither had guilt, you didn't feel the guilt that the first son felt later, nor did you believe him, to pistiusai auto. So the 2 things that the first son did, felt the guilt and then went and did the thing, they didn't do. Even though they understood the parable, their answer, the first, says that they clearly understood the parable. And Jesus directly and concretely applies it. He says, when John the Baptist came in the way of righteousness, you didn't do what he told you to do. He said, the Messiah is coming, prepare the way, ready the way, because here comes the king, and you guys ignored him. You blew him off. It would have been better for you to hear what he said, felt some guilt about it after you saw the things that you saw with your own eyes that Jesus did, and then said, you know what, we didn't want to do it, but seeing now, feeling some guilt about understanding, we're going to go ahead and do it. Nope, tax collectors and prostitutes did it right off the bat. But you guys, even after seeing, didn't get that prick of conscience, that sense of guilt, and say, we need to, even though we didn't want to do it, we need to believe what John the Baptist said, because we can see that he was right. Concrete, immediate application, very powerful. After seeing, you neither had remorse, guilt, nor believed him later. Boom. He lays it out so strongly. Very rarely do we see such an immediate and concrete application of this thing. So look at the magnificence of what the language did for us. How do you consider, how does it seem to you? How does this situation seem to you? Which of these 2 did the will of the Father? The one who was honest and said, I don't want to do that, but then after feeling some guilt, after recognizing, watching his dad walk away, said to himself, I really ought to do the right thing here. I see my dad and I see the dynamic here, I'm going to get involved. Or the one who says, yes, sir, I am a profoundly obedient son. I'm ready to do your will. But then quietly, he just didn't go. Magnificent stuff. I hope you found it as magnificent as I did, and I hope you find this Koine Greek language as exciting and clarifying as it seems to be to me. It really brings us to focus on what was being said through the word choices, through the vocabulary, through the grammatical construction, so that we don't miss what the messenger, what Matthew wanted us to know about what Jesus said to this crowd and how they responded. Hope that was good for you. If so, please like, share, subscribe. Leave me some feedback in the comments so I know what you think and I know whether I'm on the right track. And until next time, Karis Kairene Humin, grace and peace to you.